So let's talk about one amazing camera, and we can call this almost lifelong review because I have this one Canon 5DSR almost for 3 years. I'm using it on a daily basis. I shot with it several campaigns, other shootings. Also, I took it with me for shooting a big sports event like Wings for Life or World Cup Championship, European Championship in whitewater slalom. So here's my review. Okay, so let's talk about the basic specification of this camera. It was really something in the beginning of 2015, and I bought it about a year later when the price was a little bit lower, because at the beginning they wanted like 4 grand for it. I bought it for 3 and something. So that's also the reason why I can call it almost lifelong review, because nowadays it had almost 100,000 clicks, so I shot with it quite a lot. I use it also as a camera for standard event shootings, but I'm going to talk mainly about how is working with this good when you are shooting in studio, also outside, so you will take it with you everywhere, and also the final conclusions. But let's talk about the basic specific. It was released in 2015, and at that time it was the camera with the biggest resolution. We can't count the Hasselblad and Phase 1 and so on, but from the standard DSLR it was the camera with the biggest and the highest megapixel count. It has huge and amazing 50 megapixels. It's working amazingly when you are in studio and you want to retouch anything. It's like crazy. You can zoom it at like 80-100% and it's still sharp, and you will still have lots of details. But let's talk about the other things. The maximum ISO is set on 12,800. When you expand it from the basic setup, it's like 6,400, so not that much. But do you really need that high ISO? I shot with it at several conferences and sports events, and I didn't need that high ISO range. So still, I think you can use it also as your camera for daily uses. The only thing that is here is the frame rate. I'm not using it as a videographer, just as a photographer. It has just 5 frames per second on continuous shooting, but it's just because the high megapixel resolution, you need to storage those images, and it takes time to put it through the buffer on your memory card. Even though it has 2 memory card slots, CF and SD, you can count that if you put there one of the slowest SD cards, it will take quite a long time to save it on the card. Why I bought this DSLR? At that time I just borrowed it for shooting at World Cup European Champion Camp in Canon EOS slalom here in Slovakia in Liptovský Mikuláš. And I wanted just to create something different, because one of my client there wanted to print a big megaboard from that event. So I had to take really nice pictures during the race that they were able to print on the big megaboard. And that was the reason why I borrowed the 5DSR. At the first time I just wanted to take one picture from the preparations, and that the client will use that one. But after shooting with this amazing camera, I decided to buy it for myself, because the resolution, the working with the camera and the output was so amazing that I wanted it to have it. The other thing is combination of the slow shutter speed, about 5 frames per second, but the long period of writing it on your memory card. With this camera you are just not able to just press the button and take a ton of pictures and then wait. Because when you take a ton of pictures with this huge resolution and the raw file will have like 100 megabytes, it will take a lot of time to write it on your card. I'm using 2 cards all the time, so I'm having all the backup all the time with me. But when I just take a ton of pictures, it will take really few seconds, like 10 seconds to write it down. So I wasn't able just to press the button and then just select it. I need to start focusing and realizing and be prepared just to take one image. And that was the reason when my career just shifted up, because I wasn't just selecting from the tons of pictures, I was creating them, waiting for them, and waiting for the right moment when to press the button, because I knew that my camera was slow in writing. And that was the biggest change in my photographic career, that I was just waiting for the pictures, and it shifted my career like astronomically up. Okay, let's talk about shooting with this one with the studio. I shot with it several campaigns. Smaller campaigns, bigger campaigns. I have here like a ton of pictures. Also my own project. These are just from last year, so not that much. But I have it from the 2016, so there are plenty of pictures I have somewhere on my hard drives. But you can see that the output of this camera is like nothing I have ever seen. I don't know about the dynamic range and so on, I don't care about it. I just love the feeling from that camera. I'm probably not gonna sell it never, because it's like one of the best camera for shooting in studio or shooting outside. Also I shot with campaigns from World Cup championships and so on. The best thing about this camera is, for the first time ever, they had the slot for USB 3 here, but they gave to this camera one little holder. So we are able to mount the holder. Inside you put your cable, and you can walk all around inside your studio with your camera mounted to your computer. I don't have to worry about the cable anymore. So that's one of the best features that this one has in studio. Also the autofocusing system works perfectly well. You can see that this one was shot in f2.8, so wide open 400mm lens. So the autofocus works perfectly. Let's go outside and talk about how it's shooting with this camera outside, so in standard events like weddings, conferences, and whatever you can imagine. The maximum ISO is set on 6400. I know it's ended much, almost the Canon EOS 4000 has better ISO possibilities, but still you don't need that high ISO. You don't need it. I shot with this camera like several hundred conferences and sport events and everything else, and once, just once, for those almost 3 years, I can't use my 5DSR and I have to take my 1DX. It was just one time that I needed higher ISO range, so you don't need it. All the time you will be using like top of 4000. You don't need that type. The good thing about shooting with 5DSR is that you can set plenty of crop factors inside the viewfinder. So if you want to shoot 16:9, you can put it in your viewfinder and you will see it cropped. Also the same is with cropping and everything else, and square size and everything. You can put it just straight inside the menu, and you will see it inside your viewfinder. Also, when you are shooting outside with this megapixel monstrum, you are able to, in post-production, to crop those images. Because you have 50 megapixels, even if you crop it like extremely out, you will still have something like 10 megapixels, and that's plenty enough also for some campaigns or for some smaller billboards, or I don't know, posters, or I have no idea what. I shot it with also almost anything. I took it with me also for a festival shooting and concert, and I have no idea what all. So the final conclusions you already have. You can take this camera with you everywhere you go and want to have a best resolution on the market. or if you are shooting mainly in studio, this is the camera you should have. It's small, the same size as 5D series. It's small, amazingly good output and resolution. Let me show you one picture here. I have here a friend of mine, and let's zoom it in for 100%. Voila, it's still sharp. We can go even farther. So this is one of the best camera I have for shooting commercials, for shooting campaigns, and still you can use it for daily shootings. So that's my lifelong review of Canon 5DS R.